MZRA Nation, welcome into day 9 of the 31-day Safer Pilot Challenge. Really getting now into a little bit of an IFR rhythm, as you'll see over the next couple days. And I want to start sharing with you 5 things I do before literally every single IFR flight, some even days before that IFR flight, as I start to envision this as well and see everything as it plays out. But still, you know, in IFR flying, it's all about planning ahead. Here's the first thing I always do. I always file to a fix on the approach of where I'm actually heading to. Why do I do that? If I'm flying into a certain airport, I'll file to one of the initial approach fixes on the approach I believe I'm going to shoot that day. Why do I do that? Well, if I have to go 7,600, if I lose comms, ATC knows exactly where I'm going to go, what approach I'm going to shoot, and how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this initial approach fix. I'm going to go here. They're going to see it in there. If I just file Ocala to Jacksonville, well, Jax International has a bunch of different approaches that I could do. They know I'm going to Jax. They know I'll get there at my filed time, but they have no clue which runway I'm going to use. And maybe that runway has 2 or 3 approaches associated with it. They know nothing about it. If I file to a fix, then when I go through, you know, that Avenue FMEA acronym that we talk so much about for IFR loss comm procedures. If not, I'll post it in the comments so you can remember that, or someone can beat me to it, please, and post that in there and explain it. Because then they know where I'm actually going. Because lastly, I do what? I do what I was filed, what I filed. So then they know what approach I'm going to shoot and work in there. Here is number 2. Number 2, I brief all my approaches on the ground. If you are waiting until you're hurtling to the airport at 90 or 100 knots, depending on what you're flying, right? Maybe faster. If you're waiting to brief your approach when you're 20 minutes out, you are way behind the airplane already. One thing, if you followed myself and MZRA.com for any amount of time, you know I spend my time here on the ground and I will brief every approach at that airport, from the GPS approach to the VOR approach. If I can shoot the approach, I'm going to brief it. I use my highlight method to kind of brief that and disseminate the critical information. But if you're waiting until you're in the airplane to brief the approaches, unless it's a diversion or something along those lines, and you need to get good at briefs on the fly as well, no pun intended, but realistically, thinking ahead of the airplane starts on the ground. Start briefing your approaches to where you're going to be going on the ground, so it's not a surprise to you. Maybe you can remember some frequencies, remember some headings, remember some decision altitudes and some MDAs as well. So here is now number 3. Number 3, I like to review any stars or DPs well ahead of time. What I find is so often with stars and DPs, they have the strangest spellings. Anybody ever wonder who was put in charge of naming IFR fixes? Jason would be a good one. I actually looked up Jason. It's in Hawaii. So I think that makes it a tax write-off to go fly to the Jason IFR fix or waypoint in Hawaii. That's a side note. There's also the Jason Gate, spelled wrong, but in DC for the Special Flight Rules area. Anyways, that's a total side note. I don't know who made up these fixes, but I also don't know who made up some of these star and DP names. Coming out of South Florida, you could get the Thunder 3 or whatever number they're on nowadays, the Thunder, whatever it is. But Thunder is not, they have to break Thunder into 5 characters, so it's not spelled how you think. The Wogum one, there's all these different weird names. And the last thing you need to be doing is sitting there or hurtling through the sky at 90 knots and then it's telling you, hey, fly the Thunder 3 departure. And you're gonna go, okay, can you spell that for me? You're already behind the airplane. If you've briefed any DPs out of there, any stars into there, you know all these weird names and weird fixes. You know which ones apply to you, which ones are turboprop only. So you can work through that as well. Because some of these fixes are weird. We're not spelling, you know, majors or anything like that. We need some help with IFR spelling, right? Who else? Anybody type in the chat if you agree with me. Anybody else agree that IFR fixes could use some standardization with their names? And who can pronounce some of these things? All right, that's number 3. Let's talk now about number 4. Number 4, I like to figure out possible frequencies for approach way before my clearance. For example, if you look at Ocala on ForeFlight, you'll see that our approach / departure frequency, we only have one, it's Jack's approach, on 118.6. I already know when I write down my CRAFT acronym, the F for frequency, I know is going to be 118.6 if I'm heading out of Ocala. Now, this doesn't always work. You can fly out of MCO and they can give you any number of departure frequencies out of there. Sometimes it's just a best guess, but oftentimes there's just one departure frequency out of these airports and you can think ahead and write that down. So you've got, anytime you can pre-fill stuff in that CRAFT acronym, it makes your life way, way easier in the IFR environment. Speaking of that, it's our fifth and final tip. And that is to preview your route using a service like FlightAware. One way I kind of cheat, I will file my IFR flight plan, obviously a few hours before I leave. Then I'll go over on FlightAware, just on something basic like my phone, and I'll go over on FlightAware and I'll type in 23 Mike Zulu, whatever airplane I'm flying that day. And I'll type that in and I scroll to the bottom, I'll see, oh, I'm scheduled for an IFR flight. I can click on that and I can see the route that I'm probably gonna get cleared to. And I might have asked for direct and it might just say direct where I'm going. I might have asked for direct, but they're gonna take me to this Victor Airway, this VOR, everything else. And I don't want to be sitting there when I call up clearance or call up ground and say 23 Mike Zulu, ready to copy IFR to wherever I'm going, and they give me a route I wasn't expecting with weird intersections and fixes to spell yet again. Always thinking ahead. If you notice there's a theme, all this thinking ahead started on the ground. The ground is where the right decisions are made. The ground is where the pre-flight planning happens. This isn't just true of weather, it's true of our flight planning as well. Well, I covered 5 things I do before an IFR flight. What are some things you do before an IFR flight just to help you stay ahead of the airplane? Let me know in the comment section below this video, on YouTube, on Facebook, on m0a.com. I hope you're loving the 31-day Safer Pilot Challenge. By now, if you ordered your book early, there is a probability it is possibly in your hands or pretty darn close to getting in your hands as well right now. Hope you love the Aviation Mastery book. Hope you are all signed up and reserved your spot for an Aviation Mastery live event as well. 2021 is your year. 2021 is your year to invest in yourself, in your flying, just in your future, and of course, in your safety and in the pursuit of mastery. And mastery is a never-ending journey, especially when it comes to our instrument flying. M0A Nation, you are our family, and family takes care of family. If there's anything at all we can do to help better serve you, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and most importantly, remember, the good pilot is always learning. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you.